Okay.
Okay, go Dustin.
All right. We are live. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be bringing this training to y'all. I've got some amazing leaders on the Google Hangout Live with me. So this is going to be super, super exciting because I think a lot of the hot topic questions are always revolving around social media. So we want to kind of get down to the nitty gritty, the basics, and just bring you guys a lot of great information. So one really exciting thing. So this is kind of a new piece of information that we've all just kind of learned, and it is based on a call that, or an interview that Jocelyn Yates had done, and I'm going to let Kelsey kind of take it from here. This is just a really cool resource, and we'll dive into a little bit more just basic social media. But I want to make sure that we go ahead and hit this and touch this subject because I'm really excited about this new idea. So, Kelsey, if you'll just go ahead and take it over.
Yeah, so I watched this video probably about a week ago, and I was like so pumped after I watched it because I just thought it was the best video, the most useful as far as like hands-on type of things that I can be doing to grow my business. And it was a girl named Sabrina. She had just went diamond, and Jocelyn was interviewing her because the previous month she had signed 65 loyal customers. And I was like, how do you even do that? Like, I don't even have anywhere close to 65 potentials, much less get 65 customers. So when I was watching the video, the amazing thing that she did is she actually only works on Facebook right now, and she was originally from I think she was from Brazil.
Yeah.
And so she only had like 300 friends on her Facebook page, and they were all Brazilians. And so when she got started, she really had essentially nobody that she could sell to. And so what she did was she joined groups. And groups are really big for her. But people can get really turned off by groups really quickly, especially if you try to do like a sales pitch in a group. And I think it's really important that you learn how to work groups the right way. And she gave a lot of really helpful tips that I want to share with you guys because even since I've been using them, I've like put a lot of new friends on my social media, a lot more people seeing my page. I've gotten a lot more likes on some stuff. So the first thing that she did was she used like the search tool in the groups, and she searched words like hair and weight and other things. And so, but she said it took her 2 weeks to build relationships and legitify herself in the group. So she was active on those groups every day, and she joined like a nanny group or something because that's what she did for the first 3 years of her time in the States, was that she was a nanny. And that was super important. And that's super important to note because that means she had no adult interaction for 3 years. So her job wasn't meeting other adults. You know, she was just working with these kids. So a lot of people will use the excuse, I don't even know this many people. Well, that's why social media is amazing, is because we can expand our network. It's not limited to who you know right now. So she used that search tool, but she also was active on social media or on the groups, and was commenting just on their stuff every day. Not even about It Works, had nothing to do with It Works, because a lot of groups, if you do try to sell stuff, they'll like ban you immediately from the groups, and you'll get blocked, and people will get turned off. So making them get to know you versus get to know an It Works distributor is a really good point that she made, that I think a lot of people kind of misuse groups as just like, oh, this is just another place I can put my advertisement, when you don't want to do that. You want to make it another place where you can build relationships. So when she did that, the other thing that I really like that she said is it's kind of like high school when you have to find that popular kid in the group. Because there's always that like head honcho, or like the person who's a lot of times it's like the admin, but a lot of times it's not. It's just the most active person on that group, and making sure you're kind of getting in with that person. And you'll be able to find that person within the first day, because they're going to be making a comment on everybody's stuff. They're going to be the one that's going to be posting the most in the group. So you have to just make sure that you're kind of getting in. And so what happened was the girl ended up, that was a popular kid, so to speak, she ended up buying some hair, skin, and nails. And she told the girl, you're my product model, and I want you to take that very, very seriously, because I'm, giving you my discount, and I need those pictures for my portfolio. And she made a huge deal about it. And what she did was, after like 2 weeks, the girl said she would send her pictures after a month, but after 2 weeks, she messaged the girl and was like, look at my results, I'm so excited. And she made, Sabrina, the girl who was doing the training, made like the biggest deal about it. She was like, girl, your hair looks so gorgeous, blah, blah, blah. And she said, can you please post these results on the group page, because I have a lot of people who are interested but who are doubting the product. And so she used the other girl to sell for her, if that makes sense, because she let the person know that she was doing her a favor by giving her that discount and trusting her to be her model, and she made it a big deal, which a lot of times I don't think that we as distributors do a good job at, because I mean, we get the same discount that the customers do, and not a lot of companies offer that. So just realize and make your customers realize what an advantage that is. And so she made this huge deal about it, and the girl was like, oh my gosh, yes, you gave me your discount, I'd love to help you out. The post got 300 comments on it. So she, just from one post, got 300 leads. And that just goes to show you, like, if you take care of your customers, and if you make sure you're following up with the customers that you have about, you know, this is not just in groups, this is anywhere, anytime, that it can really benefit you. And so she just kind of kept doing the same thing. So from those comments, she just had like a generic message out, and then she said, you know, that she got a lot of customers, and then it kind of was like a trickle effect. So every time somebody would get those results, she would have them posted on the page, because we always say it takes somebody 7 times to believe that a product is true or to actually buy from you. And so each time, she said, by the 3rd time, the 3rd person posted, she got 20 loyal customers that day and 20 loyal customers the following day, just from that group. And so that's just a really good way, and I think there was a lot of good tips. So if you want to go back and watch it, I'm probably not even doing it justice, but we can post it like in the comments here and on the team pages. But it's just an awesome way to utilize groups, but utilize it in a way that's going to be beneficial and not come across as spam, because a lot of people might have sour taste in their mouth because they see so many of those advertisements pop up, and you don't want to use the group as that. You want to use it as a relationship building tool. So yeah, that was kind of like the stuff that I wanted to talk about.
I love it. And so we're going to share that link on the team pages, but there's a few things that I wanted to point out about that is, one, when you are looking for group pages, don't pick something that doesn't interest you. Don't just go out and like add yourself to all these mommy groups or something like that, and you don't even have kids. You know, just like when you're following people or adding to your following, like, it has to be things that you're interested, because you have to be able to start building that relationship. So it's just taking social media into like a more narrow aspect of it, of the group pages. So now we're just going to broaden it out a little bit, but I just wanted to bring it back just to that main point, because it's so important to make sure that you don't go and add, like, I'm not going to go and add like the hunting wives of Katy, Texas or something like that, because I know nothing about hunting. Like, I don't know. I always use that example, but
yeah, and I want to point out too that she got all those customers from one group, because she was really active in that one group. Because you don't want to overwhelm yourself and after you get off this training be like, oh, I'm going to add myself to 700 groups, because guess what? You're not going to be able to keep up with that. Like, you're just not, because you do have to be active in it. And so she got all of this stuff from one group. And it was something that pertained to her, that she could relate to, that she could add advice for, that she was knowledgeable about, like Erin was saying. So don't feel like the more groups you're in, the better it's going to be, because it's not, because you can't devote your time to all of that.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. Okay, so let's break it down a little bit for people that are just getting started in the business, and they're kind of like, okay, you know, there's some basic things, and I know I should start posting. So Ashley, what kind of things would you suggest, or what kind of things do you tell like your new distributors, okay, this is how many times you should post, this is the kind of post. So let's kind of go over just like the basics, like how many times should we post, what to post, and let's talk Facebook, because it's a little bit different than Instagram. So if you can cover Facebook a little bit.
Yeah, one thing, and this goes back to right when I first started, I watched a Jade Hooper video on the 3x3 rule. And I've tried to really focus on that since I got started. And when I started, it was more of a 2x2 rule. I would do at least 2 before and afters a day. and 2 lifestyle posts a day. So what I was doing, what I was eating, who I was with, what we were out and about doing, but posting about my life and It Works in my life and not them being separate things. So like I remember one of the first things I did was my kit coming in. You know, I hadn't used any of the products yet, but I just was so excited about having that kit and being able to start using the wraps. Anytime I get a package, I like to post about things like that too. Yeah, before and afters. When it comes to like timing of my posts, I always make sure I post before I teach because my mornings are really busy at school, and also I get in about, you know, I start teaching at 8, so I post right before then, and I think a lot of people are waking up and getting ready for work and checking social media at that time. And then on my lunch break, I always post. And then I post a good amount at nighttime, like after school and once people are getting off work in the evenings, because I feel like we all sit on our phones late night too and kind of scroll through. But I definitely try to break up my posts like hours apart, and I break up my before and afters with my lifestyle posts. I don't just do 5 before and afters and 2 lifestyles. I try to break them up pretty evenly. And I think that you even taught me in the beginning to even just start with a motivational quote in the morning. So if I was, you know, it's early morning, I'm tired, I'm on my way to school, like I always had all these quotes saved on my phone from Pinterest or from things I'd seen on other sites, and I would add something about It Works in the caption. So even if it wasn't a picture about It Works, somewhere in the caption I would intertwine what It Works has done for me and what it's going to do for me.
I love it. And so with Facebook, because I'm gonna jump to Dustin and Whitney to cover a little bit about Instagram, but with Facebook, how often really should you post on? Because it's a lot different on the feed is a lot different than Instagram. So with Facebook, you know, I always really say I think you should post at least 3 to 5 times a day. And the biggest thing that I can always say is you just have to make sure you're consistent and taking time, you know, to pre-plan and stuff. So is there anything in particular that you notice that like really helps, you know, via Facebook rather than Instagram, or like anything else that you want to add to that?
Yeah, I definitely post 3 to 5 times every day on my Facebook and on my Instagram, and I try to change some of those posts, but some of them I do keep the same. But one thing I've learned from Facebook too is statuses. So if I'm ever like lost, or if I just posted a picture and I don't have time to post that next hour and I haven't pre-planned because I was being dumb, I might post a status just talking about like the training tonight. Or I might post a status tomorrow talking about going to Oaks with Dustin. Something about It Works in my life and tagging a person in it, or tagging my mom in a status. Like about Mother's Day with the essential oils, tagging her in those posts too so that they're seen by other people as well. But definitely 3 to 5 times a day. And I think that if you are pre-planning your posts, you know, I'm a full-time teacher and I tutor after school sometimes till 5 or 6 o'clock. And so if I didn't pre-plan my posts, I wouldn't be getting a post in until 6:30 or 7 at night. So people think I'm crazy, but I usually have at least 10 posts pre-planned on my phone, at least those quotes or those before and afters, and then I try to incorporate things I'm doing that day. I won't pre-plan necessarily, but yeah, definitely just spreading them out, and I really love using statuses. I've gotten really big on using statuses as well as just pictures.
And it's really all about the Facebook algorithm. So some stuff that we learned is, you know, the average person on Facebook really has about 300 friends. And on your newsfeed, you only see about 20% of those. So you want to make sure that your posts really stand out and that they're going to get either like more likes or more comments. You know, emojis put you higher up in that algorithm where you're going to have more interaction. It's going to be able to show up on people's pages a lot more. So Dustin and Whit, I'm going to jump to y'all and let's kind of talk a little bit about Instagram, because that feed is so different. And a lot of times I like to post a lot more frequently on Instagram just because, you know, and I'll let you all kind of touch on that, but if you can give some tips on posting for Instagram.
Okay. I actually use my Instagram for my potentials a lot more than I do my Facebook, just for the fact that I do not follow anybody unless you're, you know, on my direct team. I don't have any It Works on my Instagram. So it takes a lot less time for me to have to, you know, is this person a distributor? Because, you know, sometimes it's hard to tell if somebody is or not. So on my Instagram, I'm pretty sure that they're not before I ever start. So I constantly am following and unfollowing people every single day. And then people who stand out to me that I really want to make sure that I get to know and build a relationship with, I would turn on post notifications for them. So every single time they're posting a picture, my phone's going off telling me. So I'm constantly liking or commenting on everything they do. And I normally do that for a couple of days before I, start interacting with them. And then as far as my posts, it just kind of depends on how my day goes, but I for sure at least do 5 throughout the day, morning, before lunch, lunchtime, between lunch and dinner, dinner time, bedtime. It's kind of how I go with it. And I always, people at my other job make fun of me all the time because I have so many filters on my pictures. But this is kind of my point. My pictures stand out, and I do that for a reason, because if you're scrolling through and you see 10 pictures of the same thing, like what people are eating, what they're doing, but mine's filtered so where it stands out, they're going to stop and look at mine. They're not going to look at the person who didn't do anything to theirs before.
I love it. And one thing I'm going to show y'all, I don't know if you can see, but this is just kind of what she was talking about with your Instagram and the little ... So let's say there's somebody specific that you want post notifications. Obviously it would say turn on notifications, and that's what you're going to click. So it's just another form for those really strong potentials. That way you can make sure that you're interacting on their page. So Instagram feed's a little bit different, because whenever with Facebook somebody likes or comments, it pops back up to the top of that news feed. And Instagram, you've got one shot. So I love that you kind of brought up some different filters. Dustin, what are your favorite filters or apps to use to really make your pictures, or what are some key things that when you're posting a picture on Instagram, what are some key things that you want people to make sure that they have in their pictures, so that way they do stand out and that people are really engaging on those particular pages?
Okay, so with my Instagram, I try and stay consistent with the theme of my pictures and how they look, just so they're not all over the place. So when you do go to my page and you look at my Instagram, I want it to inspire someone without seeing it work. So if I try and stick to a certain theme, I use PicTapGo, which is an iPhone app for all of my filters. I have a couple certain filters that I use on PicTapGo, and I just use that theme repetitively over and over every time I post my pictures. Just because I want all of my pictures to have the same quality. I want all of my pictures to have the same look. So when someone goes to my page, they're not seeing a million different themes, a million different graphics. I want them to all look, kind of have the same exact theme. And I think it's important when you're going to someone's page, when someone first goes to your page, those first 9 pictures that they see is going to be what they think of you. It's their perception of you. So I think it's important to make sure that those first 9 pictures are pretty, they're high quality pictures, they follow a certain theme, and they're not, diluted with with It Works pictures. I think it's important to, for every 4 lifestyle pictures you post 1 It Works picture. And I know on my Instagram, when I do post an It Works picture on my on my feed, I take it off after about 4 hours. So I'll go to it, I'll look at all the likes and all the comments, and I'll take a screenshot of it, and then I delete that off of my off of my Instagram, just so people aren't going to my page and seeing a bunch of It Works posts. And I think that's important, because when someone goes to my Instagram, I want them to be inspired, not just think this guy's trying to sell me something.
Yeah, I love it. And so that's why when you go, Instagram, a picture's worth 1,000 words, and so people are really going to get a screenshot of what your life is like, and you want those top 9 pictures to really highlight it, and you want it to catch people's eye where they're like, oh my God, I just love it. So, making your pictures bright and pop, and I love, let's kind of talk a little bit about what to post on Instagram. So Cassie, I'll jump over to you. I'm really going to let you kind of handle the F's of Instagram and different things, because it's a lot more pictures and you've got one shot, so we want to make sure that we post a little bit more frequently on Instagram. So let's talk about what those posts look like too with those F's of Instagram.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so as far as the F's, I really try to, when I'm posting throughout the day, I really try to focus on those subjects. So friendships, fun, freedom, food, fashion, are typically the ones that I try to focus on. So if I'm looking at my page and maybe I've posted, sometimes if I wear holy jeans that I like or something, or cute sandals, I'll take a picture and just be just a short little caption about something that I'm wearing or something like that. As a fashion poster, you could take a picture of your cute outfit, or sometimes I even take a picture of like our business clothes and just talk about like, and you don't even necessarily really have to talk about the business. But I like to show off our clothes because I think they're super cute and I wear them all the time. But so like fashion is one. Freedom kind of would pertain to the business a little bit, I think. But I think that when you're looking at those pictures, if there is not something like, if you were to look at my pictures, I mean, if you're a Knitworks distributor, you're going to know, like, one of my pictures, I have a Knitworks shirt on that says pay to party, and my first 9 pictures. But other than that, I mean, and there's another one that has another, like, It Works fight shirt. But other than that, I mean, unless you really, like, if you scroll down, unless you're, like, really reading what my posts say, you don't necessarily know that they're business related. But as far as, like I try really to post about friendships and fun a lot, because one of the reasons that I joined was because, yes, I wanted to make a couple extra $100 a month, but I wanted friends because I was a hairstylist working 40 hours a week and I didn't have any friends, and I just wanted, people to hang out with, or girlfriends to hang out with during, the week, or to talk to and stuff like that. And so, that was one of the things that I saw on Erin's Instagram when I first met her, and that was something that attracted me to the business. And, so it's not always business related, but the friendships that you gain through this business are something that you want to talk about all the time, because that's just one of the best parts about this business, in my opinion. So I really, really try to talk about, traveling is an F, but I love to talk about that. Another thing that, opened my eyes to the business was that, I saw tons of people getting to travel. Like this past month, I got to go to Arizona and to Indy, and now I'm in Dallas, even though I'm from here, just to see team members and sidelines. And it's just amazing that the relationships that this business brings into your life. But I love, love, love focusing on, certain Fs, but I think that they're very important and they're a really good guideline, especially when you're getting started, when you're trying to figure out what you should be posting about. Because I know when you're newer, it's kind of hard to, figure out what you should be posting about, especially if you've never heard about the business before or used the products, and you might feel kind of lost. But I think that those are, I mean, what else? Is there anything else you want me
No,
to
that's good.
Okay.
Okay, so one thing that I really like to make sure that I'm doing, like when it comes time for my post, is if you're doing stuff like your lifestyle and you're out having fun or you're doing these things, take several pictures at that event. And it doesn't mean that you're going to go and blow up your newsfeed with all these pictures right at one time, but that way you can kind of stack up on some posts. Just like if you're taking a selfie, go in your room and change your shirt 1,000 times, but you've got them stocked up. You can do your hair different ways, Take the time to do that and make it easy and convenient for yourself, so that way you can there's no excuses in that I have nothing to post. When you're doing these things like friends and freedom and traveling, take a bunch of pictures of that kind of stuff. So let's talk a little bit about, okay, so now we figured out how to post and what to post. So let's talk a little bit about how do we add to our market. Kelsey, I'll jump over to you. Like, what are ways that you would go, or how are you finding and adding people to your Facebook or your Instagram? Like, what kind of things are you doing? What places are you looking at? Those kind of things.
Yeah. One thing I did want to add before we jump to that was, like, I think Cassie and everybody on this training really does like a really good job of posting selfies, and I know that when people first get started, it's awkward. Like, it's just awkward if you're not like a selfie person. Like, you're like, I mean, I wasn't before I joined, because I always thought it was really vain if people like posted pictures of themselves. I'm like, what? But you just have to realize that the reason you're doing that is because you want people to see who you are. And there's not always opportunities where you're going to have somebody there that's going to be able to take a picture of you and your husband, or you and your daughter, or you and whatever you're doing. And so it also allows people to get to trust you more, because if they see your face, they're going to be able to know who you are. And like they said, put a name with a face, or a face with a name. So I think that that's something that's like really important to kind of think about is, it might seem silly at first, but it is one of those things that it will generate a lot more business, because people want to see you. So when I've talked to like my new distributors and I talk to them about posting, like one of the main things I say, because when I asked Erin, I'll never forget, like when I was talking to her before I even joined, I said, a lot of people do companies like this. but not everybody is successful. Like, what do you think makes you more successful than somebody else who's done a business like this? And she said that she just shares her adventure. And so, like, I really took that to heart, because it doesn't matter what you're doing. People just want to see what you're doing. So you might think it's boring to go get ice cream, but other people might really have wanted to go get ice cream that night and didn't feel like they could afford it, or, you know, whatever the case might be. Like yesterday, I got like a lot more likes than I ever thought when I posted a picture of me and Mac were playing on the golf course with Brian, like while he was at the putting green. And like, those are just little things that like before I would have never thought to take a picture of, but now just start taking pictures of those things, because that's really gonna like help for you too, to kind of see like, oh, okay, like I do things. And then if you ever get pushback from like any potentials about like being busy, I say, busiest people, A, get the most things done, and B, they have the most things to post about. And so I always say, if you're not busy, then I don't think you would be good at this business, because you would have no adventure to share. So that's something that I just wanted to add really quickly. But as far as growing my network, what I do is I just find people, it's kind of similar to what we were talking about with the groups, but find something that you can know that you're going to have in common with somebody, right? It's a common ground. It's something you guys, you know, kind of be like, maybe it's the same age group as you, or maybe you guys have the same fashion likes, or maybe you guys, like, I always look at like mom boutiques for like bows. Like, my daughter wears a ton of bows, so like if I can find a mom who has a daughter, like, that for me is super simple to connect with, because like I have no problem talking about like how hard it is to be a mom, because, you know, she's one of those strong-willed child. Like, actually, that's one of the groups that I joined, was parents of strong-willed children. So that's one thing that I do. I also like to look at boutiques and like look at their followers, and I think honestly it's easier to add people on Instagram than it is on Facebook, just from the standpoint of people, it doesn't feel as personal, and I feel like people are more willing to accept a random person on Instagram, because they don't see like who you're married to, what your job is, who your other friends are. They kind of just looking at your pictures, whereas Facebook feels a little bit more intimate. So I tend to do a lot more networking and expanding my network through Instagram, and then once I get to know that person, I'll add them on Facebook, because it is more personal. So that's kind of how I do it through Instagram.
I love it. And I'm going back to what you said about the busiest people. You know, you have the most things to post about, because I really, really love that. Just putting it in those terms too. So, and then the other thing to add with that is, again, with the groups, adding people that have common interests, or like if you're searching a hashtag or something. Again, I'm not going to go search hunting moms or like that kind of stuff, like, because it's not anything of what I'm interested in, and I wouldn't have anything to be connecting with. So let's talk a little bit about actually like engaging with people. So now we've kind of added to our market, and we want to make sure that we start building that relationship. So what are things that people should be doing, or what's something, as soon as you add somebody new, like how do you start kind of making an impact on their life or on their page, you know, by interacting or whatnot?
I always start off, and I learned this on a training. I wish I could remember who it was, but 9 pictures, and I will like and comment. Not on all 9. Like, some of them I'll like on, but if I really feel like I can connect to that person on a certain post, I'm going to comment on it. Similar to what Kelsey does, I look at like certain hashtags or certain boutiques. Like, if a girl has a lipstick color that I want, I'm going to say that to her. And I think one of the biggest tips I can give when it comes to interacting is just being genuine. I always tell people, if you don't feel good about what you're sending, if you feel like you're being spammy, you're going to come off like you're being spammy. Mm-hmm. So if you don't feel good about the comment that you're writing on her picture, and it just sounds like a very generic, I say this to everyone type thing, then don't send it, and build that relationship a little bit more first. But I definitely interact a little bit more if they start interacting with me, because then I feel like they've kind of opened that door for conversation. So if I add someone and, you know, I comment, oh my God, I love your lipstick, what is it? And they tell me, you know, I might tag them in my next lipstick post and be like, you've got to try this. Or this looks just like this color. Or just making those genuine interactions, not about it works first. And then if I post about lip and eye later, I might be like, this is one of the best primers ever, you've got to try it. Mm-hmm. Or I'll say things similar like that. But I really try to post for people, not just for myself. So I think about, like, when it comes to interacting, you know, if I saw someone interested in a certain concert and I went to that concert, I'm going to post about that concert, obviously, so that they see that and can relate to me in that manner too. When it comes to my comments too, I really like using their name. And honestly, that's something I learned from teaching when it comes to like feedback when I grade. You know, saying great job, Dustin versus great job is very different. And it's just one of those simple little things that I always do when it comes to, you know, messaging or commenting on posts. Like, oh my God, Kelsey, I need that color. What is it? Versus, oh my God, I need that color. It's a lot more genuine, I think. So I like to use people's names, and I like to talk to them about things outside of It Works first. If they like an It Works post of mine, though, then I do feel like that door has been opened to have that conversation with them.
Yeah, I love it. And so I think it's like, just like you said, being super genuine, you know, finding your niche of like what wording is going to work for you. So tonight on this training, you're going to hear some examples of like things that we would say or engage with people. But if that's not how you would normally talk, then don't use that. You know, tweak it to what works for you, or don't just keep it like super generic. So when I like and comment on stuff, a lot of times I'll leave it with it where it's a question. So I know that they have to engage back with me. They have to answer me. I just like to kind of start with that door. So this is going to be like a good opportunity. So we started, you know, interacting and building that relationship. So Dustin, let's kind of talk a little bit about, I don't even like to call it cold messaging anymore. I really like to call it warm messaging because we've already they kind of are becoming our warm market. Cold messaging, I always feel like it's spammy. And so let's talk a little bit about messaging. Like, what are y'all's examples of that first message? So we've liked and we've interacted, and now we want to approach somebody kind of about the business or, you know, about the product. So what are your messages looking like to people?
So one of the main things that I like to teach my team is whenever I'm messaging someone, it doesn't matter if it's the first time I've spoke to them or if I've spoke to them before. One, if we're having a conversation, I've won. So I consider that a victory just because we're talking. It Works is always going to come up at some point. It might not be that day, but it will eventually come up. So just keep that conversation going with them, because if you're having a conversation with someone, you're on the right track. But the main thing that I always teach my team is when you're talking to someone, you need to act like you're talking to them in person. So it doesn't matter if you went to high school with this person, college with this person, it's an old coworker, it's someone you work with now. If you're sending them a message on Facebook, if you walked up to them in person, you would never be like, hey girl, I'm sure that you saw that I joined It Works. I'm actually looking for one more person to join my team, and I think it would be great. How awkward would that be if you walked up to someone in person and said that? They would probably just turn around and walk away or be like, you're crazy. So I like to just make sure when I'm talking to someone, I'm acting like I'm talking to them in person. So start the conversation. It doesn't have to be this long pre-scripted message, because you can't plan pre-scripts for everything that you do in your life. When you go to the mall, you don't know that you're going to see your old coworker. So you can't have that script in your mind. So you just have to be genuine when you're talking to them, just like you're talking to someone in person. When you send that message, if it's scripted, they know. And, you know, when you're sending a scripted message to someone, if you're sending it to 5 different people, who's to say that Ashley and I or Kelsey and I aren't connecting? And Kelsey's not saying to me, someone just tried to get me to join It Works, and I'm like, me too. Here's what they said to me, and now they said the same thing to both people. It looks bad for everyone. It reeks of bad posture. So you just want to make sure that you're talking to someone just like you're talking to them in person.
I love it. And I really loved that video that you shared, you know. So it's just, you know, engaging with people just like you would talk to them on a day-to-day basis, because you know, and also too, like if we do talk about like a certain script, like, hey, I really get good feedback with this, like keeping it simple, whatever, it doesn't mean that it's going to work for everybody. So a lot of times I'll keep it very simple, like with people, you know, if I don't really necessarily know them, it'll be something like, hey girl, you know, I didn't want to blow up your newsfeed. I just really think you would be amazing at what I do. Have you thought about it? You know, and leave it at a question. So that's just like a little example, but like most of the time, if they're already starting that conversation, you've already started that conversation in between the pictures. And so when it comes to the point where, you know, you're engaging in that conversation again, like whether it's in the DM or the PM, whatever, all these acronyms or stuff, I just keep saying it's going down in the DM. I just said that. I just did it. You're welcome. But, you know, just really like whenever the message goes to that point, you know, making sure that you are genuine and you're just like speaking from the heart, because when people get into this business and you're teaching them stuff, you don't want them to get in and then you're teaching them the exact same scripts, and it literally just becomes like almost just like soldiers, and you're just repeating and repeating, and it looks bad. So let's talk a little bit about like kind of the fortunes and the follow-up. So let's say we've already started talking to people that, because Facebook and Instagram are different, because it's different than that belly to belly, that normal conversation like you would have with people, and the relationships take a little bit longer. So let's talk a little bit. We've already started that initial conversation. We kind of feel like they're a potential. So how do you go about like following up with people? Like, how frequently should you follow up? Because it's not like you can just go over and drive over and you've got the party, whatever. Like, social media, it takes longer to build that relationship. So what tips would you give for following up?
What's really been working for me lately is I'm all about that sense of urgency. I mean, we always use that we have that one spot left. We've all used that. But what I've been saying now is not only do I have that one spot left, but I'm holding it for you. I've been holding it for you. Are you still interested, or should I move on to the next person for that one spot? And that's got me 4 people in the last 24 hours, so that one's really working for me right now. But I follow up with the same people every single week. I mean, you have to flat be like, leave me alone, or I'm going to still keep following up. And it seems exhausting. It can be, but eventually, I mean, everybody on that list ends up signing up. They truly do. It's just a matter of what work you're going to put into it.
Yeah, and so one thing, like kind of going back to the cold message or whatnot, or the message, I don't call it cold messaging. When I start that initial conversation talking with potential, I always try and find out their why. So that way, whenever you are following up, you can bring it back and say, hey, I know you were so excited to get started because of blank. So it brings them back to that initial reason, because a lot of times people are going to make excuses. They're going to not respond. They're not going to do these things. But since you've already built that relationship, you're really creating that friendship. You know their name, because a lot of times people don't know that you know their name. They think that they're just getting another message. If you can engage back and bring it back where you remember like what's going on in their life, and you've, just like you're talking to your friend, like what's going on. So handle it the exact same situation, so that way when you're following up, it doesn't feel like I'm just getting another message on follow-up Friday, something like that. So yeah, you may use like a very similar template or whatnot, but if you have that personal touch on it, it's going to be a lot more engaging, and they're more likely to respond with you. So don't give up on people just because they don't respond. I have people that I've messaged literally 13 times, and they're just now responding. Like, all 13 blue boxes are just me. And finally, they're messaging back. So don't give up on people. Don't scratch their name off, because you just don't know when their time is going to come. You don't know when is the right time for them, whatnot. So Cassie, let's talk a little bit, because I know we're getting close to about 45 minutes or so. So let's talk a little bit. We'll go around and just do some last-minute tips, like if there's anything else that y'all want to add to this. One thing we didn't touch on is like the bio on Instagram or Facebook, because Facebook just added that. So if you want to just talk a little bit about that, and then we'll all just do like our final closing tip.
Okay, so I think we started talking about the bio in that Instagram training, didn't we? The one that you did with Rachel Jones a couple months ago. If you guys haven't watched that, you need to. You can find it in, I think, every single team page. But that helped me a lot when I first started working Instagram, because I had no idea how to work Instagram. But one of the main things that I didn't have was a bio. I think I had my name, and that was about it. So there was like no description of me, and yes, like people are gonna look at your first 9 pictures, and they're kind of gonna get a sense of like your personality and who you are, and if they're gonna want to follow you, or if they could, if they just want to watch, your posts. But I think that like my profile is on private, Facebook and Instagram, so I have similar bios, because Facebook only allows you like a certain character limit, and Instagram I think allows a little bit more, if I remember correctly. But typically what I do, which I struggled with this when I first was trying to figure out what I wanted my bio to be, because I didn't really know how to describe myself, but basically what mine says is my age, and I use a lot of emojis, because I want to express like my personality and my excitement of who I am as a person, not just through words, because people can't see that through words. So even when I message people, like I use a lot of emojis. So mine has a lot of emojis. It says my name or my age. I have in love with my best friend. I have wine lover because I love wine. I have Chipotle addict because I'm obsessed with Chipotle, if you don't know me. I have lipstick junkie because I'm obsessed with lipsticks. Christian and positive vibes because I'm a positive person. At least I like to think that I am. So those are just a few things that kind of just describe me as a person. And so that's kind of what you want to do, is you just want to pick like just a few things that kind of describe you as a person. And it can be absolutely anything. And you can get ideas from other people and just kind of ask somebody else, what do you think of when you think of me, and try to get ideas from some of your friends or sidelines or whoever, your accountability partner if you have one. But that's kind of what I did, is I just sat down and I was like, okay, if somebody were to, I could even put like boot lover or whatever, because I'm obsessed with boots and shoes in general. So like just little things that are just, like whatever describes you. And emojis, I use emojis because I love emojis. So that's just what kind of mine looks like. So other than that, what am I doing? An ending?
So that's good. So another thing that I want to point out too is like, let's look at your Instagram and let's say you have it works in your, like, it's going to be a turnoff for people. So that bio, your name, that is a very bold statement about yourself. So really don't just like try and make something up in 10 minutes. Like take some time to put some thought into it, and really, because it's the power behind your life. You want it to stand out to people, and they want to be like, oh my gosh, like I want to follow this person because of what their thing says. If you have it works in any part of like your name or anything like that, it's going to be a turnoff. People are not going to want to follow you back. So make sure that it's really, because this is a snapshot of your life. It isn't all about it works. So that's not what all of your Instagram or all of your Facebook should be. It should be sharing your adventure, and it works as a part of that adventure. So that's the way that I really like to look at it. But let's go ahead. We'll just go Ashley, Cassie, Dustin Witt, and Kelsey, and let's. That's how y'all are lined up on the bottom of my screen. Let's just do like one final tip, for somebody. Or if you don't have anything, we can pass whatever. But just anything else that you want to add, that's really super important, or that's something that you found that's really helpful in building your business on social media.
This is going to be what everyone says, I think, because I think we say this every single time, but being consistent, figuring out, like, knowing yourself enough to know, I have a really busy day tomorrow, I need to pre-plan some posts. Because there are days, like, especially if you're traveling, or, like, certain days when I'm teaching, like, I don't have the time to sit there and make stuff up at that moment. So knowing your schedule and working around it and being consistent with posting and messaging. And I think one of the biggest tips I ever got was not to set myself up for failure. So, I'm typically really hard on myself. Kelsey and I talked about this the other day. So I can't sit here and say message 200 people tomorrow if tomorrow is a crazy hectic day for me. So setting goals that are realistic when it comes to posting and messaging. And then if you go above those goals, you feel good about it. But definitely hitting those goals every single day, no matter what they are for you. If you're getting started, you might be messaging and posting a little bit less than you might be a month into it when you're a little bit more comfortable. But changing your goals based on what your goals are, for that month too. So if you know that you really are pushing hard to fill out those steps of success, like how many people are you going to have to talk to? And breaking your goals down daily, not just weekly or monthly, especially when it comes to posting and messaging. So
I love it. I love it. Okay, Kat? Yep.
Okay, so I have two, but I'll make them really short, I promise. Okay, so one is something we all hear all the time, and it's to share your adventure, not someone else's. I think that a lot of people sometimes we talk about this a lot, but I think a lot of the time, especially when we're new, we tend to get caught up in scripts and templates and not sharing our own words or not sharing our own adventure. And another thing that I hear a lot is people not sharing their own adventure, and how do I want to word this? Like, a lot of people don't necessarily share their why in their story often enough, I think. And that was on a training, I think, I don't remember which one it was, but it was recently. And it was Carrie Bauer, and she was talking about how you have to learn how to tell your story 100 different ways, because there are so many different people out there that are going to relate to some part of your story. So you have to really narrow down your story and say it in so many different ways. I'm a very wordy person. So if you watch some of my posts, a lot of them are novels. And I try not to do that, but it happens because that's just who I am and that's how I express myself, I guess.
People relate.
But yeah, so I either do that or I do a video, but normally my posts are really long, and that's just me. That's not everybody else. And so that's what makes me different than other people. And I try to embrace that, but you have to realize that your story might be different than someone else's, but you have a story. And you can't sit there and say that you don't have one, because I did that when I first started, and I was like, well, I'm just a hairdresser and I didn't really have a reason why I needed to join other than I just really wanted a couple extra $100. And you think I'm corny, but I wanted friends. That was one of my main reasons for joining, and that's my reason. So everybody's reason is different, and you just have to embrace that reason, and you have to embrace your why, and just don't make excuses for other people, because when you're reaching out to people or you're watching people on social media and you think, man, they would be so good at this business, or I would love to reach out to them and just tell them how amazing I think they would be, don't say, I'm scared they might tell me no, because you don't know what that person is going through, because most people only show you what they want you to see, and it might look perfect from the outside, but on the inside it might not be, and they might be praying for an opportunity like this, and you just have to know that that you're holding that opportunity and you not sharing it with them is so selfish. And so you just have to have that mindset and just get out there and share this opportunity with people, and don't give people excuses as to why they wouldn't want to be part of something like this.
I love it. Awesome. All right, Whit.
Who can follow that? But I would also like to point on the fact of copying scripts, because I did it all the time. I would find one, save it in my notes on my phone, because I thought it was so good, and I would use it later. And I don't actually know if some of you know this, but Facebook will now immediately put you in jail if you're copying other people's posts. Mm-hmm. So if you all of a sudden are realizing that your likes have dropped significantly, chances are good you're in jail and you just don't know it. So I have been practicing making my own post a lot lately. Yes, they take me a little bit more time to sit there and come up with the correct words, because I kind of get jumbled sometimes, but they make all the difference. Mm-hmm. And yeah, sometimes I'll see word for word, I'm like, wow, that's mine, and that's mine, like even the exact emojis, and it kind of excites me, because I'm like, wow, that person copied me. But really, it all comes back to, it's going to hurt them in the long run, or hurt us in the long run if we continue to do it, because what you don't realize is that you're just decreasing who sees your post every single time you do it.
Yep, exactly. All right, Dustin?
Okay, so I have one tip and then one piece of advice, but I'll go quick. Okay, so my tip is the one that I've shared with most of you guys. It is unbelievable how many customers that you can get by having other people post for you on their Facebook. And I know that I preach this to you guys all the time, but it's so simple. Do a drawing on your Facebook page for a free wrap. All of the people who comment and like on it, draw your winner, and then all the people who comment and like on that post, send them a message and let them know that they have not won your drawing, but that you would love to enter them in for a second drawing because you had so much interaction. And they'll be entered in for that second drawing if they'll do you one small favor. And that one small favor is posting on their Facebook for you. So you send them exactly what you want them to post. Switch it up because you don't want them to go into Facebook jail. Put the picture and then have them tag you in it. So what happens when you have them do this is you're reaching their market. So many people that you could never reach. And you're letting other people work for you. It's gold for your business. Just make sure that you're hiding those posts from your timeline. So that you don't have 15 of them on your page if 15 people posted for you. It does take work because now you have to go back to all of those people's pages, see who commented, see who likes, and follow up with those people, but it's gold for your business. My second thing is, since this is on social media, I just want to kind of point out to everyone, there are 3 ways to build your business in this company. You can use social media, you can do parties, or you can go out and blitz belly to belly with people. Find your niche. Just because social media works for us, it doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. If wrap parties are working for you, if blitzing's working for you, use those. Don't change what isn't broke.
I love it. Perfect. All right, Kels?
Okay, I have 2 really quick. So the first one I want to talk about is posting when you first start. We don't really touch that much on it, but just don't make excuses about, I haven't made money yet, so I don't have anything to post about. Talk about what you're going to do when you do make money. Talk about what your goals are. Talk about what's on your dream board. I still talk about stuff like that. Like I still talk about, like, this is on my dream board, and works can't pay for it yet. I can't pay for a $500,000 house yet. So, but I can still post about it, and post about, like, the other aspects. Post about food. Post about, your, like we talked about, your adventure. So just try not to, like, dwell on, like, if you are following the leaders, it can sometimes be intimidating because you do see, like, them, it works paying for that, and everybody feels that way when they first start. So just know that that's normal to feel that way, but just don't let that be your excuse for not coming up with your own post like that. And then the other thing I wanted to touch on was just being patient, because when I first started, I wish I would have worked Instagram and adding to my network more than I did, because it does take time, and I'm not a very patient person. But when you first start working Instagram, people just have to get to know you. And it's nothing that you're doing wrong when you first start. So a lot of times, like, I'll have people message, like, people who just start out, and they're like, "What am I doing wrong? I'm not signing any distributors." And I'm like, "But you just started." Like, so people need to watch and make sure that you're in this for a really long time, and that this isn't something that's going to fade out. So just be patient with that, and stay, consistent with it, like Ashley talked about. But just know that you're not going to get 10 distributors in your first week, even if your posts are amazing. But that doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. So don't try not to be too hard on yourself when you're, first starting out and starting Instagram, because for me it at least took at least a month for me really focusing on my Instagram for me to generate any business from it. So just kind of know that, and be patient with it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so there's a couple things that I just want to touch on. Obviously, my biggest thing is being consistent. One thing that people have asked, how have you been so successful? I literally every single day have always posted and shared our adventure and always worked my business. There's not one day, if you look back, that I took a break or took a day off or anything like that. Like, some days, yes, like, I don't post as much, but one thing is always being consistent and just sharing this opportunity. The other thing is, don't wait for people to contact you. I think that's the hardest thing, because you think, like, I think when you first get started, you think all these people, like, when you post this amazing thing, people are just going to flock to you. Everybody wants this, and everybody's going to talk to me, and it doesn't always happen like that. Just like Kelsey said, people are going to watch you. So be on the offense, be aggressive, be ready to go, and go ahead and just because somebody hasn't liked your picture doesn't mean that you can't reach out and start that interaction. Like, don't sit there and sit back and wait for every single person to like and comment on your picture, because it's not going to happen initially. You have to build that rapport. So, I always say just get out there and kind of, again, just being on the offense, being ready to go, and not just sitting there waiting for everybody. So those are the biggest things that I really wanted to touch on. Again, I'm so excited that we were able to do this, and we made it in less than an hour, so 2 minutes shy. I'm pumped. I love it. So thank you all so much for joining me tonight. I know that this is super helpful for our teams, and we will see you guys later. Bye.